Hello, everybody. You're listening to the Big Chill Podcast. This is episode 854. Can Arsenal hold on? Hello, Big Chillians, and welcome back to the Big Chill Podcast. I'm Frank, joined as always with Eddie. Eddie, how's it going?
Yeah, things are going pretty well. Back from my quick trip. A couple quick Eurostars since we last recorded, but had an interesting Eurostar experience on
When do you not?
on Wednesday when I got on. The guy sitting next to me, I sat down. He was in his seat before I was there, and when I
First
sat
class
down
or normal class?
normal. I booked this all pretty last minute. So
Normal.
I booked it all last, and I'll be honest with you, Eurostar, the upgrade is not that much worth it. Like if it's a close price, fair enough, but the difference of experience is really not that significant. The food that they give you is terrible and like just not interesting at all. And okay, you get more leg room. That's the nice bit, but realistically, when you're sometimes looking at like twice the price, even more, it isn't worth it. But
So you make fun of me like when I like the Delta first class and I get food and you say like, oh, so you can have a crappy meal. But for the most part now, the airline meals in first class are actually pretty good, but trains have not improved. Like I've gotten a few first class and they do the breakfast and the breakfast is almost inedible. Like they give it to you and you're just like, this isn't food. This is like someone made this like with fucking silly putty.
Eurostar in particular has gone way downhill too. It used to be better. Like you used to, for starters, it's not good food. And B, it's such a small portion that I don't know what purpose it serves. Like if I was trying to treat it as my lunch, I would still end up having to get more food. So the only way it kind of works is if you're like, you know what I would really like? I would like this bizarre combination of food for a mid-afternoon snack. That's the only way it kind of makes sense. But if you're on either a lunchtime, if you're on a breakfast lunchtime or like when you might be eating dinner, the Eurostar food just doesn't do it.
Yeah.
So it's not really worth the upgrade. But yeah, and in particular, I bought it the day before. So I actually used the Eurostar Snap thing, which is you don't know which train you're going to get on. It tells you the price and you pick a window. So you'll say like, I want to travel Wednesday morning between 7 a.m. and 11 a.m. And then you book it and then it puts you on a train.
Does this like save you some money? Is that like
it's like 50% off
this?
50% off a normal price. So I paid 140 euros, whereas if I'd just picked my trains, I would have paid 300. So
could you imagine doing that at Ascot and having to tell Vass to save like a window of time to be ready?
So it tells you immediately. It tells you immediately. As soon as you book it, it tells you. And you can only do this within, I think it's only sort of within the 5 days before your flight. So it's sort of it's intended for last minute travel for them to basically sell you empty seats at a discounted rate. But it works. It kind of confuses to me as to why they need to do that versus why then they just don't list those prices on the actual trains. If that's a price they're comfortable selling at, it's sort of slightly confusing to me, but fair enough. And it's like actually directly through Eurostar. But so I sat down. The annoying thing too is I couldn't, because then you go through that process, you can't actually even see your seat. You don't see it on the seating chart. You could figure it out, but it's not displaying it in the traditional way. So I sat down. I was both times lucky, got window, which was nice. And the guy inside of me, he sat down, he was on his phone, and just, you have to look at what someone's looking at, when you just a quick glimpse to see what is this guy reading. And he was on Wikipedia and he was reading the Wikipedia entry for doggy style. And then it transpired he was French. So I think he'd heard the word and then was like trying to figure out what it was. But it was just a quick 11 a.m. reading of the Wikipedia doggy style entry.
I wish he had just asked you, like, are you a native English speaker? What does doggy style mean?
So yeah, that was odd. On the way back, surrounded by children, as usual. I can't, at least one train has to be just a negative child experience, and it was that one. Just a couple of American parents letting their child treat the Eurostar as if it was his personal jungle gym. It was unbelievable to watch. At one moment, hanging, no joke, hanging, he he stood on the armrest. He was probably only 3 years old, so he wasn't big, but he stood on the armrest and then grabbed onto, like, where you put your bag overhead and
Yeah.
then swung from that. Just just an unbelievable move. And they said nothing. This to them was perfectly fine.
Yeah. Sounds about right. Just gotta let him wear
Yeah.
himself down.
Yeah, yeah, just standing on the chairs with his shoes on the whole time, just delightful. Just nice clean bottom of your shoes that you've just trudged through the London Underground on. Nothing disgusting on them at all.
That's pretty funny. Was he, like, kicking you in the process of swinging?
No, he was the other side of the aisle to me. So it actually had
Okay.
very little impact on
So he's
my
kicking his own
experience.
parents.
Yeah, his dad was sort of sitting there with him and loving it.
Yeah.
Dad had no complaints.
Yeah, he's showing good upper body strength at an early age.
Yeah, I guess. Certainly was fearless. Going back to our conversation about the Winter Olympics, he
He's
certainly
high on the nerve category.
yeah, he had he had no concern whatsoever for his well-being on that train.
I guess speaking of Winter Olympics, I know we discussed it, for a good amount of time last episode. I have just a few updates. I think maybe you have one too, but the one I want to talk about was, have you seen the new sport they added this year, the ski mountaineering, or the skimo as it's abbreviated? Have you seen this event?
I saw some
This is
highlights, yeah,
this is where I think you kinda have to take the Olympics for what they are, where they're just kind of like making up events now. I mean, it's kind of like breakdancing in the Summer Olympics, and they're just kinda like putting things together. It's fun to watch, I'll give you that. Like, it is an interesting watch, but it's like ESPN the Ocho, not, like like a respected sport. So for those who didn't see, skimo or ski mountaineering is, you start off with skis with, like, grips on them, and you basically run up a snow hill. And then you get to a point and you have to take the skis off. You have to latch them to your back properly, and then you, like, walk up snow-covered steps for a certain distance, and then you get to the top, and then you have to do this, like, the ski walking again, but there's, like, obstacles. You have to, like, go around kinda in, like, a V shape up the hill, like, around these obstacles, and then you get to the top. When you're completely at the top and your legs are like jello, you then take off the grippy skins on your skis, and then you ski down with basically, like, no energy left in your legs, and apparently people just, like, fall and eat it, and the whole thing is, like, not to fall, basically, and then you slide down to the finish line. It is like a glorified, like, when you're with a bunch of your friends and be like, "Alright, guys, this is the challenge now. You're gonna, like, walk this amount, then you put skis on and do it, and then you take the skis off, and then you gotta, like, go down." It's like, so it sounds like someone just made this up on the fly, and I know it's not. It actually has been, like, a winter event in, I don't know, whatever winter championships or whatever there are, but it still just sounds so made up.
Yeah, I mean, this goes back to the idea that I shared on last podcast, which I shared in a bar in London this week, and it actually people were receptive to it. The idea that I think it should be switched to the Winter Games and not the Winter Olympics, because it does feel a little manufactured. I agree with you. It's not as if they created this sport purely for putting it in the Olympics, but at the same time, the core competencies that we have accepted should be in the Winter Olympics, we've sort of exhausted them, and now we're having to work on variations in order to create new events. Have you seen the push for basketball to be shifted to the Winter Olympics? This is discussion. It's not seriously being not by the IOC, but by people who are adamant that basketball is actually a winter sport in terms of when it falls seasonally. And so it
Yeah,
should be in the
yeah.
Winter Olympics, not, which is an interesting concept that we actually, rather than treating the Winter Olympics as like snow ice games, we actually just shift it to these are things you play between September and March.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, maybe we change it from Winter Olympics to cold weather games.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it would change it dramatically, right? Like, you could definitely move basketball there. You could maybe start shifting some of those, like, indoor racket sports. Something like squash suddenly
Yeah.
becomes a Winter Olympic sport. You know, it's
I mean,
I don't know.
what makes me nervous about seeing skimo be a Olympic game is that means we are very, very close and not far off from, like, CrossFit, High Rocks, or whatever that other one is now that's super popular. Like, what is the difference
Yeah,
between that sport where it's like, "Hey, now grab this heavy bag and run this distance." Oh, now you got there? Okay, now you have to do, like, 100 pull-ups. You've done that? Okay, now you gotta run a mile. Like, what's the difference between that and the literal equivalent we just saw on snow? Like,
yeah.
it's almost identical as, like, an idea. Like, we are not far off from seeing that, and once we start seeing that, then it just becomes annoying.
I always forgot to tell you, I'd meant to mention it at the time. When I flew to LA when we were going to the Breeders' Cup, and David and I were sitting across the aisle from us, there was this American guy, a couple with a young child. The dad, when he wasn't dealing with the child, was watching the High Rocks World Championship, I think it was.
Yeah,
He must have watched 7 hours of this across this
it's
11, 12-hour
crazy.
flight, and it I would kind of, again, cast my eye over. He was just watching it on his phone. Insane move, as you know, I think, but you'd cast over, and it's just these are just the same it's just the same thing over and over again, and I get you could say that if I was watching an NFL game, you'd be like, "It's just the same." Like, it doesn't change for 3 hours, but this is just people doing laps of an obstacle
Yeah.
course kind of slowly. Like, I'm not doubting the how impressive some of their physical capabilities are, but from a viewership perspective, like, it's not the most entertaining thing in the world.
Yeah, no, it's super impressive to watch, like, a 1 to 2-minute clip of, like, this is who won the High Rocks, and watching someone, like, push through and struggle, and yeah, and you can still in 2 minutes, you can appreciate how difficult it was and how in an amazing shape they are, both, like, endurance and strength-wise, but you don't need to watch it for 4 hours to figure that out. Like, that's a 2-minute cut clip.
Yeah. To me, it's a bit like the World's Strongest Man competition. Whereas, like, I can watch that sort of 30-minute TV show where they kind of run through the highlights and you have this
Yep.
sort of slightly sarcastic commentary going on, making fun of people when they fail. That every once in a while I can sit down and watch. But if you told me, "Hey, Eddie, the World's Strongest Man competition is on live. Let's watch it for the next 3 hours," I'd struggle with that one after maybe 15 minutes.
Would you watch it in person for, like, the whole day?
I don't think so. Like, I really don't think so. If I had nothing else to do that day and people I knew were going, then probably I would say yes. But would I go out of my way to try and travel to the World's Strongest Man competition? I think I'd get bored pretty fast. Again, I
Yeah.
think because I think ultimately it would be like, you're all very impressive. Like, you're all ridiculously strong. So then seeing one person lift the Atlas stone one sort of step higher won't be like, "I can't believe I saw that." It's like, I can't believe in a sense I saw any of it. So I don't the degree of difficulty is kind of lost on me.
Yeah.
Now, speaking other kind of briefly mention the NFL, obviously not much to discuss football-wise. One thing I am looking forward to, I don't know if you're still getting this in your Instagram algorithm. We obviously spoke about Bad Bunny's halftime performance. The people translating Bad Bunny songs into English and then performing it, which I still get just bombarded with.
Never
You've not
seen
seen
it.
any of this?
No.
It's because people, like,
I'm not as political as you.
the lyrics are kind of stupid. So it's not people anti Bad Bunny, it's actually kind of
Oh,
pro Bad
okay.
Bunny people, but they're kind of making the joke of, like, this is what he's at you couldn't understand, like, this is what the lyrics actually mean, and, they're not great. He's not Bob Dylan, surprisingly enough. And when I saw the first one, okay, sort of interesting to especially because some people put in more effort. You have the people who did the literal translation, and then you have people who do a sort of more stylistic translation where they're still getting the words to rhyme. You know, okay, kind of interesting. I'm still getting it. And it's one of those things of And I checked to see when the video was posted of, am I getting something someone did now 2 weeks ago, but I'm only just seeing it? But it will be people who are just trying to piggyback onto an Instagram trend, so have made this video 3 days ago. It needs to stop.
I thought you were gonna go the other way. I thought you were gonna say, "So now I've got it for us for the
Oh, yeah,
podcast."
surprise,
So I
surprise,
spent the
guys.
last week teaching myself Spanish so I could do it for us.
Why would I teach myself Spanish to do the translated lyrics?
Because you wanna translate it your
Oh,
own
I want
way.
my own translation.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, yeah. After taking 5 hours of Duolingo Spanish, this is what I think Bad Bunny was saying.
Yeah.
Something, 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 he wants something, I don't know, something.
But yeah, it's, uh it's, other than that, no football really to discuss. The only college football-wise, which we obviously don't speak too much about, Ole Miss got the good news that their quarterback, uh, Trinidad Chambliss I
Chamblis, yeah.
is eligible for his 6th season. He got
Oh, they gave
cleared
it to him?
to they gave it to him. The NCAA can still appeal, so it's not definitively the final decision, but in all likelihood, he's gonna be allowed to play, which kinda going piggy I'll use the word piggybacking for the second time in 3 minutes, but off of the discussion we had the other day about the future of college sports. If now the purpose of being a college athlete is just to be a college athlete forever, that makes college sports even dumber too.
I agree, but at the same time, I think NCAA benefits from him coming back because it at least he comes back to the same team, and it's kind of like, "Oh, this guy who plays for Ole Miss is coming back to Ole Miss to try and win it." Like, in the era of everyone transferring every year, the NCAA would actually benefit from a guy coming back to come to play for the same team to try and, like, avenge their playoff loss and to avenge their coach leaving them or whatever the narrative's gonna be next year. Like, it is actually something that will benefit them in a way.
Yeah, it's a good discussion, right? And it sort of drives interest into one of the talking points heading into the season. So I agree with you there. And I also don't blame him because if I were a college athlete and I felt like I could play college sports for one more year,
Oh, yeah.
when I don't think I
And make
can,
money.
and make money, which is the other element, make a couple
Yeah,
$1,000,000 and get to live this wonderful life instead of becoming a mortgage broker or whatever it is,
yeah.
it's going to end up happening. Then for sure, I don't like begrudge him the fact that he's tried to do it, but it is just kind of dumb. Like at what point then, like where do we draw the line? Can you be in your
Oh, yeah.
15th season? Like I'm doing
Yeah.
my third PhD. Like this is, and I just want to keep playing football while I do it.
Yeah. I mean, it's the Carson Beck, he hasn't taken classes in 3 years argument.
Which I think that's the only fix in a sense. Stop this years of eligibility and actually require that you be actively pursuing an academic degree, and that needs to be able to be sort of audited and provable. So, yeah, I'm not
Yeah.
necessarily if you wanna go and do a PhD and you're legitimately doing some research and working on your thesis paper whilst also playing football, then I guess I'm okay with that. But if it's, "Oh, I'm quote
W
unquote doing my PhD and I haven't done anything for the last 2 years, but I'll get
Yeah,
like once football stops, I'll get around to it," then
yeah.
that's an issue.
Oh, I guarantee you Carson Beck is doing a master's, and it's
Oh,
just
yeah, he
all, like,
probably already has
independent
one.
study course.
He probably already has 1 or 2. He's probably
Yeah.
got his MBA. He's probably got a master's in a couple of in communications. I'm sure he's got a few things. Now, I guess we can get on to the biggest sporting news of the week. Obviously, Champions League came back, which we can discuss, but also Premier League football had one midweek match. Arsenal were playing against Wolves. They took a 2-0 lead, which they then managed to blow, with Wolves scoring a very late equalizer after a little bit of a defensive mishap. A lot
Embarrassing.
led to David Raya spilling a cross that he should have collected comfortably or left for his defender. Either option would have been perfectly sufficient. And now Arsenal are 5 points clear with having played one game more. So the title race is well and truly on. If City win all of their remaining matches, Manchester City will be Premier League champions because they can win their game in hand plus win their match against Arsenal. But if nothing else, it at least now puts City in the realistic position, I think, where they can feel like they can slip up. It's no longer they don't have to be foot perfect and hope that Arsenal do them a favor. I think both of these teams will continue to drop points over the remainder of the season, and this just takes a little bit of pressure off City that now, if they're the next one to slip up, it doesn't feel as catastrophic.
Yeah. I mean, I think Arsenal are done. I mean, I think they're done because after that match, it gets in your head. And it either goes one of two ways, right? You're the type of team, you're the type of player where that match happens, and then it's like, this is a fucking wake up call. We can't lose anymore. Like, we've got to start being powerhouses, aggressive. We've got to fucking go out and win these matches. I just don't think Arsenal have that type of mentality. I think they have the mentality of like, it's starting to seek in a little bit of, oh crap, how do we let that one go? What if we let another one up like that? Like, what if we go 2 up on Spurs and we lose? Like another bottom feeder right now. Like that's the mentality I think Arsenal have. I think City are the other way. I think City is a team that now that they see an opening, they could give that like, "Oh, we've got our chance now. Now we go out and we fucking dominate every match and we put up 5 goals a game and we do not lose anymore." Like and the dichotomy of those two kind of like team personalities is why I think Arsenal are done. I think City
Yeah,
have this. I think they take this.
I also think City will win the Premier. I've actually never really at any moment in this season so far really because as you know, I'm a big believer until you've done it, I'm going to doubt that you can do it. And you also know I'm not the biggest like, oh, people having ghosts of what's happened previously bother them. Because usually when people speak about, oh, Arsenal haven't won away at this ground since 1972, I think that has zero implications. In this instance, I think it really does because there are a bunch of players in that Arsenal squad who've been there and blown it. And then there are a bunch of players in the City squad who have been there and chased the other team down. And so the belief there on both sides of on for the Arsenal perspective, uh-oh, here we go again. And from the City perspective, here we go again. I think that's a huge thing. And I think you're right.
Yeah.
You even saw it in the way that City were they were time wasting. Arsenal, sorry, were time wasting. They were clinging on against Wolves. And I think that's also revealing in terms of they are just trying to grind out and hold on to points and don't have that confidence of, oh no, we'll go and we'll blow Wolves away. We'll be 2-0 up, we'll go 3-0 up. Instead it was like 2-0 up, okay. Now let's sit back and protect this. 2-1, uh-oh. Now we're in trouble. Let's just try and hold on for these 3 points, not try and find a winner.
Yeah, and you never like rarely do you see City do that, and a lot of times maybe that isn't the smartest move by City because when when your defense is a little suspect, you allow that opportunity for a good counterattack, and maybe they should sometimes take a more conservative approach, but they don't, and like you won't see them do that. They'll go up 2-0 and they'll say, "Hey, why can't we go up 4-0? Like why can't we double this?" And
Yeah.
I think right now I think that's gonna show out, and I mean. Yeah, let's give it a few weeks, but I think this could I mean, it is really interesting now, but I think they could get really interesting within a few weeks.
And as we always say, as two neutrals, this is what you want.
Of
If
course.
I get it, and I was watching the Arsenal match with former co-host Sam, who was telling me I hate Arsenal. Oh, here you go, you hate Arsenal. Which according to if you speak to all of my friends who are supporters of any Premier League football club, I think they would all tell me that I hate their club. Which do I just hate every Premier League club at all times? And I said I don't,
Probably.
and I've actually had periods in my life where I've really enjoyed, again, as a neutral, probably would have said, oh, I hope Arsenal, like when they played in the Champions League final against Barcelona, I wanted them to win. In the Wenger era, when they played really good football, a lot of the time, I enjoyed watching them. It was a pleasure to watch them play. So as a neutral, I was happy when they were on, and I was happy when they were doing well. But at the moment, they don't play good football. They're not enjoyable to watch. They've spent a lot of money to be basically what feels like and this is a reference that you won't necessarily get, but they just feel like a supercharged version of Sam Allardyce's Bolton. And that to me doesn't deserve to win the Premier League. And it's not enjoyable as a neutral, so I want them to fail. I mean, we've spoken about it before, but I feel like they should be punished for the style of football that they play because I think a championship team should, the onus is on them to play good football and to kind of set the standard for the league, and they don't do that. And City at the moment aren't playing fantastic football either. This is not the kind of most free flowing version of City either, but at least when City click, they are fun to watch. And I got a bit of backlash from Sam too, because, Saka's now been moved into this slightly more attacking position in terms of how they're going to play with a kind of that interchangeable front three. I put my conspiracy theory hat on there, and this feels a little bit like there's that everyone at the Emirates has heard the criticism of should Saka be in the England squad. He actually doesn't score that many goals or get that many assists, and this is let's put him into a more attacking position so that he can juice the numbers a little bit ahead of the summer and make sure that he's playing for England in the USA. But that's just a little conspiracy theory that I'm
How does
leaning
Sam take
into.
that?
Not well. Not well at all. And I did share this, just to be clear. I shared this after he scored. It wasn't I threw this theory out and then he scored and I was immediately proven wrong or, there he is contributing. But congratulations on whatever that is, his 11th goal in the last 4 seasons or something along those lines. But, you know. And then the Champions League. Champions League was back. A few good games. Bodo Glimt continued their amazing Champions League run and pulled off
Oh,
another
God.
shock, beating Juventus. And the whole discussions that then surround whether it's fair to have professional footballers go and play on artificial turf in the Arctic Circle, and what a terrible experience this is for these multi-millionaires to have to lower themselves to those types of standards. Elsewhere, PSG came from 2-0 down to beat Monaco, continue the ugly but efficient PSG European run. But the big talking point, I guess, unfortunately, was coming out of the Benfica Real Madrid game, which Real Madrid won 1-0. But during it, Vinicius Junior was on the receiving end, or he alleges on the receiving end of some racial abuse from a Benfica player, which has thrown up, you know, Jose Mourinho in the aftermath made some bizarre statements, basically putting the blame on Vinicius Junior, who has been the recipient of racial abuse in the past, but
For being
basically said
black?
he well, just basically said he's a provocateur and he brings it on himself. And, like
Oh,
in that game, Vinicius Junior had scored and then he did a quite sort of sexual dance in front of the corner flag, which had got the Benfica flag fans a little worked up. And, he does definitely rub people the wrong way. I don't think that justifies racially abusing him. That seems to
yeah.
be going a little far.
Yeah.
But it's a like he said, she said situation because obviously there's no evidence. The Benfica player was covering his mouth with his shirt at the time that he said what he said. So you can't even do the lip reading to try and figure out exactly what it was. There's
Well,
been some
never a good sign to start though when you say
no,
something to someone and you cover your
you
mouth when
cover
you
your
say
mouth.
it.
No, you're
Yeah.
just, hey, you're playing really, really well today.
Yeah, it's
I just
it's
don't.
oh, that's always a move I do when I wanna tell someone something,
Yes.
I cover myself so no one else can see what I'm saying to them.
But the interesting thing, unfortunately, it divides the world of football. Most people obviously coming out in defense of Vinicius Junior and critical of any form of racism. There are the odd people who come out and kind of just focus on the criticism of Vinicius Junior, one of whom was former Paraguayan goalkeeper Jose Luis Chilavert, who was always a controversial figure. And he came out saying that he supports Prestiani. Vinicius is the first to insult everyone. Mbappe supports Vinny, but he lives with a trans woman. That isn't normal.
God.
That's the quote from him, which, as I was then reading about this, came across an interesting quote from former Argentinian manager Cesar Luis Menotti, who, when speaking about Chilavert, said, "What they should do with Chilavert is take him to schools and universities so kids can learn what the man was like 40 million years ago. First came Chilavert, then came the monkey, and then the human being."
Rough, but good insult.
Yeah. But it's yeah, we'll see how it plays out. Obviously, it'll be interesting to see what punishment there will be for uh for Prestiani, equally for Benfica, and potentially even for Jose Mourinho. So, and sad because I've always liked Jose Mourinho. He likes saying controversial things, but he's usually been on the right side of history, even when he said some of those controversial things. This feels like he's leaned too much into the caricature of himself of needing to be both controversial and
Yeah.
irrationally defending his own players. And yeah, not a good look.
So I know, we don't have, you said, much NFL talk. I have an NFL adjacent topic, Eddie, that I thought might interest you. I don't know if you saw, but someone in uh Ohio, no, is it Illinois? Yeah. Someone in Illinois tried to file a lawsuit against Buffalo Wild Wings. Did you see this? Claiming he filed a Illinois Consumer Fraud Act over Buffalo Wild Wings, calling them boneless wings instead of chicken nuggets. This is something that someone actually took the time to do. And he said that the lawsuit that he's filed in January 2023 was that he expected to receive wings that were deboned, and argued that Buffalo Wild Wings should be called something different, like quote unquote chicken poppers. Just the fact that this person then claims it should be called something different, chicken poppers, which is something that it's not a popper either, but like this, like, so it's just an absolutely ludicrous claim. And this is part of what's wrong with the world, is that people think that they need to file these things. And of course, like, thankfully, the court ruled in favor of Buffalo Wild Wings, saying
No,
like,
thankfully.
no, yes, yes, at least some common sense came through, and saying, like, basically, "No, you're an idiot. These have been called boneless wings for, like, decades now, and everyone who sees what a boneless wing is on a menu understands that it is basically, like, a piece of chicken that's been fried that could be, like, a tender or a nugget or whatever, and that's what they are, and just get the fuck out of here. This is dumb."
So it's a stupid lawsuit, but I am going to zag a little bit
Of course you are. I knew, that's why I brought it up.
in that I kind of agree with him that a boneless wing should be a deboned chicken wing. That otherwise sell me a chicken nugget or a chicken tender or whatever, but
But
don't
what's a
just
chicken nugget, though? Do you know what I mean? Like, that's the thing, is, like, if you think they should be called a chicken nugget, what defines a chicken nugget? To me, a chicken
what.
nugget is like processed chicken smashed together to
So
form like a
so in
like
the case of
a
McDonald's, you're
square.
correct. Yes, but in a real, like, if you're making chicken nuggets at home, you're using chicken breast or potentially chicken thigh, and then you're just frying that little nugget of chicken. So, but yes, I'm not taking McDonald's to court for the fact that it is not they're not cutting a piece of chicken out and then making my chicken McNuggets out of it.
Because the chicken
So,
tender, I will argue, that makes sense, because you're taking the tenderloin piece of the chicken that's like that long strip, and you're just cutting that piece off, breading it, and frying it. Like, a chicken tender is literally the only one to me that makes sense out of
I knew you'd
those
be most
few.
passionate about the tendies. I knew
I
you'd be
love
most
Denny's.
you were always gonna defend tendies more than
Oh, I
the
will,
nuggets or the
to
wing.
death.
As I said, would I complain? Like, I know I agree that when I order boneless chicken wings, I am not expecting it to be a deboned chicken wing that shows up, but I would hope that that's what it was, if you see what I mean. If there was a place selling chicken wings and they did their boneless version, and that was the sort of, "Hey, here, when we sell you a boneless chicken wing, we've literally deboned the chicken wing, and then that's what you're getting," I would put that in the plus points for that restaurant. I
Yeah.
wouldn't go, I don't care what it is. 'Cause not only does that part of the chicken taste slightly different, but it's like it is that thought of, "If I didn't want this, I would order chicken tenders or chicken nuggets or
Yeah.
just a piece of chicken breast."
It would say, like, on the menu, like, "real boneless wings."
Yes.
So there was a
Just from chickens that are born without bones.
my I'm sure my dad will be listening to this. He'll love this, little tidbit. We used to go, well, they used to go regularly to New Orleans, and Emeril Lagasse had a really good restaurant down there at the time, and they had stuffed boneless wings, and they employed a woman at the restaurant where her only job was to debone chicken wings, and apparently she was, like, insanely good at it. She could, like, cut out the bone within, like, 4 seconds of a wing, and then they would stuff it with sausage and then bread it and deep fry it. This thing was fucking unreal good. It's still one of the best things I've ever eaten in my life, but that was a true boneless wing.
There you go. You're closer. You see, even you, having experienced the real version, are saying it's better. So
Well, it
you should
was because it was
maybe
also just stuffed with sausage.
but so there you go. Maybe you were too hard on this guy and he was trying to fight the good fight on our behalf, and you have made fun of him.
No, he wasn't. He was trying to either get a quick buck or get a settlement with Buffalo Wild Wings where he'd get, like, free wings for life.
It is interesting, like, what are you hoping as the legitimately hoping for as the outcome there? Because I know people always bring up, and this now has been there's been the enough pushback on that the woman who sued
The
McDonald's for
hot
the
coffee.
coffee that was too hot, and people made fun of it for a long time, and then now people have kind of come to learn how actually awful her burns were, and that it makes sense that she brought a lawsuit against them. But in this instance, what are you legit like? There's no real damages that have been caused here. The mental anguish of the disappointment of not having true chicken wings.
I mean, does this just open the door now that anyone who goes to Buffalo Wild Wings and orders boneless wings, as soon as they get them, pulls the stupid joke of like, "Oh, these are like
Are those
chicken nuggets. I wanted like wings that were deboned."
I'm sure if you work at a Buffalo Wild Wings, you've had a few of those comments over the last few days. The real
Yeah.
question here, because I'm gonna be honest with you, I might put myself in the camp of if I went to Buffalo Wild Wings, I'm not sure if I even expect the bone chicken wings to be real chicken wings. You know,
Man, people
if
shit on Buffalo Wild. A lot of people don't like Buffalo Wild Wings, huh?
I don't think I've ever actually been to one, but if
Oh,
news
what the
emerge,
fuck? What an
if
unfair statement you've just made.
but if
What a
news were to
slander on a company you've never even been to.
I may have been, but I don't think I have been. But if news were to emerge that it turns out it's not even chicken, it's like and I know it's nicer than a KFC, but in the same way that KFC, like, you know, we can't call it Kentucky Fried Chicken anymore. It's just gotta be KFC because there's actually not the percentage of chicken in the actual chicken is not high enough. If there was a similar thing with Buffalo Wild Wings, I wouldn't be stunned.
Man, just throwing Buffalo Wild Wings on the bus. I mean, I don't really like Buffalo Wild Wings that much either, but at least I've been
Okay.
there.
You're gonna
At least
defend it,
I've
but
been there,
I like that
but
in
I'll
both
still
instances,
go.
you attacked this guy, and then you said, "Actually, he's basically right." Now you're defending Buffalo Wild Wings, and you're going, "Actually, it's a piece of shit," but
I still go. I mean, we have one on campus. It's like the only bar that's on campus, so I've been a few times.
that's
It's
different, though. That's out of
it's
necessity.
okay.
I look,
Oh, it's like
I'm
it's
I'm
like 3 minutes quicker.
I'm sure I would be perfectly happy. You know the types of bars and stuff. I'm sure I would be perfectly at home in a Buffalo Wild Wings. I think I would have
A lot of
a good
sports on.
evening. Yeah. I like wings. I'm not super picky about wings.
Do you
I
like
like
boneless
beer.
wings?
I do prefer boneless wings, it is true.
Yeah.
I At home, I don't mind, but if I'm out, it's just so messy in a bar to
Yeah.
be eating, and I feel kinda gross. It's like when we were at the Cedar Inn together and we were sitting at the bar eating
100%.
those wings, and I just feel bad for, like, the bartender standing 3 feet from us who's just having to watch me shove a bone in my face, get sauce all over my face, and you just think, "What a disgusting human being I look like in this moment."
And then
I would
and then has to
rather have the
collect your, like, 37 napkins.
Yes,
like crumble them
and
up for you and put them in the basket
yes.
and take them away.
Yeah, and the wipes I've used that have kind of discarded all over the place, and the bones that as they pick up the plate, a bone kinda touches their hand as they go to throw that away. I don't
Yeah.
enjoy that much. So if you could tell me that I'm only ever eating boneless and it's just a much cleaner experience, I would do it.
Yeah. Wingstop, way better boneless wings than Buffalo Wild Wings.
I've only had Wingstop once, it was with you.
Pretty good.
Although you didn't actually get Wingstop the time we went to Wingstop. You got Panda Express. This was in LA.
Ah, I do
You
love
got
Panda
Panda
Express too.
you got Panda Express, and Olivier and I got wings from Wingstop. As it turns out, in an area of LA that we should probably have not have been walking around,
We survived.
as we were later informed. And
Yeah.
any other, sporting news to co
No, I don't have much. I mean, I'm sure you didn't watch, but the women's hockey gold medal match was yesterday, Canada versus USA. Very good game
It was yesterday or 2 days ago?
yesterday.
Yesterday? So I guess I saw the semifinal 2 days ago. When I was out in London, actually, it was on TV.
Oh, that was the men's you watched.
Was that men's? I wasn't
It
paying
was
that much attention
quarterfinals. It was in
during the All-Star
overtime as
match.
well? Yeah.
It was on TV, and I was very much focused on the football, so you could have told me it was anything. First it was
Yeah.
curling, then it was ice hockey.
Yeah, so the men's were in the quarterfinals, and both Canada and US went to overtime and scored to move on.
I
But
saw there was a
yesterday was the
controversy
women's.
in the men's the Canadian game where the Czechs had too many players on the ice.
Yeah, to score
Like,
to tie it, to put it to overtime, but then Canada ended up winning, which, like, yeah, they got that would have been an absolute outrage had they lost that
but
game.
that I how is that not just reviewed? Like
I don't know.
like,
I don't
is
know
is
what
that
the
is that a
review I don't know
failure
what
of
the
the
review
review
rules are
process
for.
or for international?
Yeah.
Like, is it 'cause the question is it a failure of the review process, or is it, "Hey, if you get away with it, that's a loophole. Good for you. If we don't notice it in real time, you're good to go."
Yeah, I think that could be it, but I think I'm almost positive in the NHL you can review it. You can review too many men. Almost 100% positive, but I don't know what the IOC rules are for, like, reviews. But yeah, the US women were down 1-0, pulled the goalie with 2 minutes left and scored, and then won in overtime on a really nice goal. So, yeah, it was a good match to watch, and then the men semifinals are today, and then that's about it for the wrapping up, I think Sunday, right, is closing ceremony, so
Yep, it's nearly over. How I will miss it.
it's been something to watch during the day. I'll give it that.
Yeah, I mean,
I
for
would
me, less
prefer it's in Europe all the time because at least that gives me something in the day to put on. So even when my boss walks into my office and just sees that I have like a third screen on the side with hockey on, he's like, "Oh, what are you doing? Watching some hockey?" Just in the background.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, the Cricket World Cup has dominated more of my viewing, which I guess we haven't made mention of at all before
That's
we
true.
recorded the last episode. Australia were knocked out in the group stages, which was the big talking point there. They lost 2 of their group stage matches, and then their hopes of making it through were dashed by bad weather, which helped Zimbabwe get through. But, that to me, we've had 2 or 3 games every day of the Cricket World Cup, so that's been the sort of thing I can throw on in the background basically all day. We're now getting to the Super 6 stages, which start this weekend. Um, Kinda little controversy in the Cricket World Cup in terms of how the seeding works for the Super Sixes. I don't know if you saw any of this, but you would expect that the Cricket World Cup works like every other tournament that's ever takes place, which would be that if you win, that there's some order of first in this group goes into one stage and second in this group goes into the other, and you're trying to sort of give an advantage to the team that had won their group. The Cricket World Cup decided that's logical and people do that, but we've decided we're going to just completely do something opposite. So England, for example, finished second in their group to the West Indies, having lost to them. But in the end, it actually was England who took the number 1 seed as far as it was concerned for the placement in the Super Sixes, because pre-tournament they'd been seeded number 1 in the group. So they kind of were given the benefit for the form that they'd had prior to the World Cup taking place meant that
Wow.
even though they finished second, they've now been put into the easier of the 2 Super Sixes group. So England's chances of making the semifinal and the final have been significantly improved. The West Indies has been hurt because of that sort of pre-tournament ranking.
But it's also strange, the Cricket World Cup, because it's like you're in like you're in round robin group stages, but then you qualify and then you get put into more group stages
Yes.
and then
Yes.
a playoff.
So you have multiple groups of, what were they? 4 teams? 5 teams?
I
5
think 4.
teams?
Was it 5?
5. Yeah. 4 groups of 5. And then from there, they go into 2 groups of 3. And then from there,
2 groups of 4.
2 groups of 4, yeah, sorry. And then from there, they go into the semifinals and then the final. So, yeah, you have
Yeah.
2 group stages fundamentally.
It's weird.
It is weird, but it does produce a kind of truer winner,
More
I would
fair.
guess, because you've had to prove yourself. You can't just kind of ride your luck a little bit in terms of, we were the underdogs and we managed to sneak by one team, and then we had a really easy path. Like, you could look at this, for example, now and say, whoever had been, if it was just single knockout now, whoever happened to draw themselves against Zimbabwe would feel like they could already sort of pencil themselves in for being in the semifinal. Whereas now, and I don't know, I guess if you're Zimbabwe, your chances, maybe you're a little bit annoyed by this format because your chances of springing a further surprise are maybe lessened because you have to play more games. At the same time, if you're a Zimbabwe player, much cooler experience because now you get to play India, South Africa, West Indies in big World Cup matches, whereas you could have just ended up playing Sri Lanka once in the knockout stages, losing, and that's you going home.
Yeah, unfortunately for me, I think England's first match is a tad bit too early for me. So maybe I can catch the tail end of it. So,
Or just stay up late.
not an option.
I mean, it starts at
I think like 3 in the morning.
3:30 in the morning for you.
Yeah.
Just have a big Saturday night out.
But most of them have started at like 7 or 8. So those are doable. Like, that's fine.
Yeah. The Sunday, you've got 2 games. And so the second game is very watchable for you. The India match is on at after the England match. So that's like kind of nicely timed for your morning. And the final and stuff will be watchable. It's just just because England are shoved on a kind of a super Sunday in the second stage. Anything else?
So I did say last episode that I had procured a BuzzFeed list that we could go through a little bit. Given that there wasn't much sport this week going on besides the Olympics or the Winter Games, as we now call them. So this was 26 things we used to consider fancy schmancy, but now no one wants it in any way, shape, or form. I won't go through all 26. I'll just pull up some highlight ones of things that I think you might have had, and let me get your reaction. So the first one, this is one I'm almost positive you had, was the 3.2 plus megapixel digital camera, either the Sony or the Canon, that you would carry around for parties and take pictures with the SD card in it.
So I had a digital camera, not a Sony or a Canon, but I had a digital camera for like the end of high school, which I think I used maybe first year of university as well. And probably second year too. And then that was when sort of camera phones were starting to get to the point where you like were good enough that you didn't feel like you needed. Although looking back on them, you see those early era camera phone pictures, and I probably should have stuck with the actual digital camera for a little bit longer. But yeah, no, I had one. I always find if my dad's been a staunch defender of the camcorder with like the flip.
Oh, yeah.
And that went out of style for years. And I can remember being with my dad where he got openly made fun of by people for like, what are you, like using a camera from 1998? And be like, no, it's a brand new camera. I bought it this year. It's good. Those things have come back into fashion. Like that's now like a cooler thing to have, which I don't think he's realized.
He started the trend.
Yeah, I don't think he realizes he's even back in the trend. It's just not something he pays attention to. But it is funny for me because I can remember being with him when he's been made fun of for having them, and then now that would not definitely not happen. But yes, I did have
Yeah.
a digital camera for a period. I think I was given a digital camera 10th grade Christmas. I think that was like my main Christmas present.
Yeah, I had a few. I probably had, like, at least 2, I think, 2 different ones, and I remember even in college, we still had them, and then you had the annoying part of then having to, like, plug your phone into the camera or, into the computer, or your computer might
Mhm.
have been really fancy and had, like, the SD card, like, slot you could put it in, and then have to wait for the pictures to, like, download off your camera. That sometimes took forever because both your camera and your computer sucked at the time.
Yeah, I mean, that was back in the era where you were doing a lot of that syncing because you had your iPod that you were syncing plus the
Yep,
camera that you were syncing. Although I was not in the iPod family. I was a
of course
Zune
you weren't.
boy.
Of course you
So
weren't. Wouldn't
Zune was a better
expect anything less.
Zune was a much better product.
Oh god. How about I mean, you don't drive much, so maybe not, but the portable GPS, like the TomTom, I remember having to like, we had one, and you'd have to take it from, like, car to car and, like, unattach it from the windshield and put it on yours. Yeah, those are some interesting
So
things.
I've I kinda own one now in that the little car I have, it doesn't come with any kinda display. So I had to buy off Amazon like a LED screen that I've then stuck on the dash. So that's
Why
basically what that is.
why couldn't you just have your phone?
Because I find my phone wasn't really big enough to really see directions appearing. Like, when I put my phone in a phone holder, I didn't find that easy to, like, look and see. If I really didn't know the way, I found my phone screen was too small to, like, glance quickly at and be like, "Oh, I need to take the next right."
So now you
So,
had to buy an iPad for your car?
basically,
This car is getting
like,
pricier by the minute.
it was only 60 bucks. It's really shitty, but it does the job, and it
So
has
what
to be
did you just,
plugged.
like, mirror from your phone?
No, no, you can install apps on it. So, like, yeah, if I'm using Waze, then but I can, like it's picking up the 5G from my phone,
Okay.
but I can do everything directly on that screen. Like, I don't need to be doing something on the phone to then have it be mirrored. So it's a little bit more advanced than that, but it's still not great. And I just leave. I'm running the risk that someone breaks in to steal it, but I'm figuring that they won't. As for the actual separated TomTom, never owned one, and nor has anyone nor did my parents
Yeah, I didn't,
to go
my parents did.
for the flex on that front. I think as soon as there were GPSs in cars, had a car with an actual GPS navigation system built into it.
Well, I know what I'm gonna get you now for Christmas. I'm gonna get you an old school TomTom to replace what you've got.
No, I'm happy with the thing I have.
No, I'm gonna require you to use the TomTom.
The only thing
And,
that's
like, it won't be updated either, so the roads won't even be correct.
the only thing that's annoying about it is it then does connect automatically to my phone. And I stick a Bluetooth speaker in the cup holder in the car, which
This is getting better by the minute. You
so that
gotta you gotta buy your own screens, your own speaker, your own steering wheel. You have to buy your own seatbelts.
so there I have a Bluetooth speaker that fits perfectly into the cup holder. So it almost as if it was made for it. And play music or a podcast through that Bluetooth speaker. But the problem is like when you initially it default connects to that screen, which does have a speaker built into it, but that is the worst sound quality you've ever heard in your life. So sometimes I just am dealing with that sort of trying to unpair it from one thing of like, no, I still want you to be using the 5G to show me for ways, but then at the same time, I don't want you to be getting sound from my iPhone, which is playing a podcast, which I want to come through the Bluetooth speaker.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I remember the TomToms, and I also remember having to do, like, MapQuest printouts when you, like, print out the directions on MapQuest. That was crazy. I can't believe that was a time we lived in. How about this is actually, I think, a pretty good one, ringtones. Having to pay money to get a ringtone on your phone that could be, like a 10-second snippet of, like, a popular song at the time.
So,
And
I've
it having
never been
and not only did sorry, real quick, but not only to, like, have to buy them, but that it was also kind of a thing. Like, you would
Yes.
want to have a cool ringtone, and you'd want your phone to ring and, like, have the ringtone play.
Yeah, you got to show people how funny you were by the
Yeah.
choice of ringtone that you had. I've always been a vibrate only person or a phone on silent person. So my phone now is completely on silent. It doesn't have I basically
Yeah,
have
mine
0
does too.
push I have 0, like, even notifications pop up, like, for most messages. It's just that I trust that I check with enough frequency that I'll see messages, but, like, I don't and I will say, to go back to the Whoop versus Apple Watch discussion, it's actually one of the things I've enjoyed about switching to getting the Apple Watch on, is that now I'll have my watch vibrate when my phone rings, but my phone doesn't vibrate, it's just on silent. So I actually don't miss phone calls anymore because I used to consistently just not see a phone call. So it solves that problem. But yeah, I don't think I ever bought a ringtone because I never had ringtones on. But I certainly, when I was in
So
high school or college, people were I remember the period where people were like loved the Crazy Frog ringtone, and that was everywhere, but that was probably
I don't
more of a
know.
European thing.
Crazy Frog ringtone, what is that?
Oh, do you want me to play Crazy Frog for you?
I don't know, do I?
Probably not, but I'll find it.
While you're finding it, 2 of the other ones on here are the Palm Pilot and then the BlackBerry. Did you have
So,
any of those?
I never had a BlackBerry,
Me neither.
but because I went just straight from, like, a Nokia or a Motorola Razr to eventually an iPhone. I did have a Palm Pilot at one stage because my dad, like, when he switched actually to BlackBerries for work, he had a Palm Pilot that he gave to me that I, like, played games on. So that would like, I kind of use that as like an adult Nintendo, basically, like a Game Boy for a little bit of time. But I did have in high school, I think one of the worst purchase decisions I've ever made, although it was my parents who bought it on my behalf. I got that Windows smartphone, like like first basically the first ever smartphone to come out that you could get the internet on. It was like had a disproportionately large screen. It was pre-BlackBerry, pre-iPhone, pre-everything. And but it was also before there was any concept of a data package within your cell phone. So, like, it was impossible to use the internet because it was just ridiculously expensive. And I think I basically went on the internet 2 or 3 times and then just had complaints from my parents about what my phone bill looked like. And so then never did it again. Like, it literally would be like, "Oh, let me see what the Blackburn score is." That's 37 euros. You know, like, that was it
It took
was
5 minutes.
yeah, the pages loaded and nothing there was no concept at that stage of like a mobile friendly version of a website. So you were just loading like the BBC website that was built to be accessed via desktop. So you
Yeah,
couldn't the links were all over the place. You couldn't really read the article. It wasn't formatted correctly. It was a terrible experience.
yeah. I mean, speaking of the early cell phones too, I was so good at texting with, like, a multi-tap. So there was, like, the multi-tap where I mean, there are people probably listening that have no idea what this is, but if you picture your phone was just an actual keypad, the numbers were letters, and if you want to do, like, the letter C, you had to push the number 1 3 times. So the first one would be A, second 2 presses would be B, 3 presses would be C. But you had to be quick enough to, like, push the button so it didn't think it was, like, a second letter, but not too quick. I was so good at multi-tap. And then they came out with T9, which was, like, the predictive one, and then that kinda changed the game for everyone. T9 was kind of the start of actual texting. But
Well,
those were some days. Man, those were, like, primitive days.
I'm about to take you back to some primitive days because I am going to play a little bit of Crazy Frog by Axel F. I apologize to people who have never heard this before. I also apologize to the people who have heard this before because I think
And
it'll
this is like a
be
popular this is a popular ringtone. This is a real song. Like, this is a
it was a real song that kind of became popular for reasons I don't fully understand,
okay.
and then became probably the most popular ringtone. Alongside, like, I would say it was this, and then, like, Akon was a pretty popular ringtone as
Yeah.
well.
Akon, holy shit. Okay, yeah, yeah.
So, yeah. And there's a kind of that ding ding bit, the frog element, it kicks in a
Yeah,
little
yeah.
bit more at certain stages, but yeah, that was I think that was the biggest you heard that a lot when I was probably senior year of high school plus first year of university. I think that was pretty common. And that was one of those that was the awkward thing of the first few people who had it. It was like revealing part of their personality of both of like, look how funny I am. This is what I've got. But then you had a lot of people who were too late to the game, but who still hoped to have that same impact that you'd be like, oh, listen to, oh, my phone's going to ring. Listen to this. It's like, yeah, you're
Yeah.
the 19th person I've heard with that ringtone in the last couple months.
So, actually, I haven't been shouting out the Reddit usernames. I've been dropping some things, but this is, one of them too is this is coming from Daydreamers Union. I find Beats by Dre headphones at Goodwill every few weeks. The last pair I saw was $3.97. Did you have the Beats by Dre headphones when they were quite expensive?
Never did. And that's again one of those things that I'm happy I didn't.
Because you had the Sony
Of
noise cancelers.
I had Bose for a while. I had the
You
Bose
had the triple
over
the price ones.
yeah, I had those for a little bit. Um, I mean, but I would say for most of my life, I've just been cheap, um, cheap,
Yeah.
like
Headphones.
plug-in earphones.
Yeah. Yeah, I was never a big over the ear. The only time I like it is when I'm on a plane because the noise canceling is nice. But otherwise, like, I don't understand how people can work out with when they used to, like, work out with the Beats by Dre's or even just other, like, covering the ear headphones. Like, I have no idea how you can go to the gym and wear those. It's crazy to me.
So what else is left on the list?
This is actually a pretty good one. I think most people had, and I'm sure now do not have anymore. This comes from, Weed Trek. Not completely worthless, but there were some really expensive iPod speaker docks that did not keep their value well. I remember this being a thing like when we were in high school and college, is like trying to find a way to play your iPod through some sort of speaker system. And then these became quite popular.
Yeah, I never had one, but I remember buying my dad for one of his birthdays because he loves music and stuff. And yeah, as a collective present from like me, my sister, and my mother, we bought him a really nice one that was like a big speaker. It's kind of that you then plugged your iPhone into, and it looked kind of interesting. He still has it. It still sits in his. He never uses it anymore. He could have bought like different adapters. He could still be using it as a speaker if he wanted to, but
Yeah.
has just kind of moved on to Sonos as like removing any necessity for that. But that's the only version of that. I do think though, and I know that now, like in Europe, there's a requirement that everything uses the same charger. Like everything needs to be USB-C now, and we can't have like Apple using one type of sort of plug and like Android using a different one. But I think we need to agree that a certain moment in time that like charging is fast enough and that things are convenient enough and just spend like 10 to 15 years with the same type of plug. Because whilst, yes, I don't have as many devices like speakers, you still now see things like I'll get on a train and they'll have invested in like a USB. Oh no, you can plug your cable in and charge your phone. And it's like, no, I can't because I don't have that type of cable anymore. Like that's
Yeah.
very
I don't
cool
have
that you
USB.
spent that, but it's completely wasted time now. Like you may as well have nothing. And I do think as a society, just from a waste perspective, we should probably be like, do you know what? My phone charging in 45 minutes is perfect. I don't need it to be 37 minutes. That's not going to change my life. Let's just keep the same cables for a while.
Yeah, until like 2030, we keep USB-C, and then in 2029, we'll start taking bids for what the next
Yes.
plug technology will be.
And it needs to be demonstrably better in, like, all ways. It needs to
Yeah.
be things will charge now 70% faster, and, like, connectivity ish like, the cables don't break
Transfer
at all.
rates.
Yeah, like, everything needs to be absolutely perfect. Otherwise, like, we don't need these minimally marginal gains so that we all have to buy new t and then you also just have a drawer full of old cables that you kinda still hold on to just in case some device you suddenly realize,
Yeah.
like, "Oh, shit, I need that now." I don't need that.
Yeah. Last one here I'll do. This comes from Bluebird House 11. Just got rid of a digital photo frame that had never been used. Not quite luxury, but probably worth about £100.
I've never had a digital photo frame, but those still get pushed. I listen to a lot of podcasts where they have
Yeah, what
ads
is
for
that
those.
podcast that has them? What is it called?
The one that you're, like, supposed to, like, give your parents or whatever, and then they can upload
Yeah,
pictures so they can, like you can put pictures of your kids. Skyframe? Maybe it is? Is it Skyframe? Something
maybe
like
something
that.
like that.
And to be honest with you, I have at certain moments in time when I've been struggling to, like, think of a present for my dad, it has crossed my mind as, like, maybe I'll get this, and I mean, I don't have kids, but, like, maybe
What are you gonna put pictures of? Just like you?
yeah, just a beer. Just send pictures of, like, "Here's a beer I'm having today." You'd probably find that funny. But it's more it's more like my sister could upload, like, t take a picture of her kids doing something, and
Yeah,
it could be there for him to see straight away on a frame. He would probably like that, but then I'm always torn as to it does feel like I'm gonna buy it, like, 2 days before those stop being a thing. And then equally, you read reviews and sometimes, like, subreddits where people review them and stuff, kinda mixed, where some people are like,
yeah.
it's harder to use than you want it to be, and in the end, I just ended up using the same photos, so it kind of just defeats the purpose. I don't know.
I have one of the digital photo ones. I still have it somewhere. It's not up or anything, but we definitely had one, and you could, like, upload, and it was fun. It was cool for a while, but then you don't feel like turning it on or, like, cycling it or updating photos.
Yeah, I mean, they make a lot of sense. Like, it's not as if like, I 100% get why it would be interesting to have, especially now as camera phone quality has improved so radically that
Yeah.
it would be interesting to, like, take a photo on my phone and then immediately be like, "Oh, I'll have that cycle through of." But yeah, I'd
Add
be
it to
too
the
late.
add it to the cycle.
Yeah, but I'd be too lazy, and it would just be the same 6 photos from 3 years ago that have never changed, and then
Yeah.
eventually it would be like, "I can put this in a drawer and never get it out again." Now, I know you said it would be too late, but I can share some brief having watched A Night of the Seven Kingdoms,
The penultimate.
penultimate episode. I can share some quick thoughts. Obviously, spoiler alerts for people who have not watched it.
Yeah,
Good
major
good
spoiler alerts. Like, this is
good
a
episode.
yeah,
In the end, I guess we kinda called some of it right in terms of what we thought was gonna happen. I mean, he's gonna win because there's kinda no drama there
yeah.
because like, the lore that exists surrounding him afterwards. But we kinda
You know he's
predicted.
gonna win, but for a while, like, you kind of felt like he wasn't. Like, there was a
Yeah.
point where I was like, "Oh, maybe he doesn't win this," and, like, there's some, like, technicality or something.
Yeah. But yeah, and we kinda called it was obvious that the uncle was going to die as that and I don't mean that obvious in a bad way, but sort of
Yeah.
kinda set up for that type of,
It's very Game of
process.
Thrones too. I mean, obviously you haven't watched Game of Thrones, but anytime someone tries to do something good and noble, they're done for. Like being a good person is not rewarded in the Game of Thrones universe.
What I'm unclear on, one other person died, right? They
2
say
died on the f
2?
on 2 died on the first charge.
Which 2 were those?
So it was the guy who had the broken leg who was like, "I can just be on a horse," and then called
Oh,
the other 2 guys like, "You green fucks." He died on the first go. He didn't make it. And then the guy, Beesbury, the guy who had the yellow mustache, who you literally saw for like 3 seconds,
yeah, yeah.
you had never met him before, and then, like, when they showed up, he was like, "Yeah, I think he said, like, he hates the Targaryens or something like that." He died in
Okay.
the first go.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but no good. The, like, flashback origin story thing maybe went on for a little too long.
It's very mixed. I think a lot of people didn't like it and maybe it wasn't necessary. Like, do you really need to know that, like someone close to him died early in his life and that's why he's now like noble? I think it's a better I would have almost not needed that first part about like his first young love dying, but just how he gets connected with the knight. I thought that was
Yeah.
actually a better part of the story where it's like, oh, like the knight saves him and then like he kind of just tags along, follows him because he has nothing better to do anymore. Like he has no family, he has no friends. So he's gonna try and kind of just follow him around and then eventually kind of gets pulled under his wing. Like that part was cool. Um,
But even that went for a while. Like, you
it did.
feel like you could have trimmed on the little montage of him following him, we could have maybe cut a scene out. And then similarly, I don't mind the little bit of the origin story with the girl who he's in love with being killed, but again, it went for longer because there was part of me that worried whilst watching it of like, "Oh, no, is this just what this episode's gonna be? Like, are we just
Yeah.
getting this?" Like, I was tuning in for the big battle. I I don't just want the, like, his one true love was killed. Like,
Yeah.
it's not doing it for me.
Yeah, and I will say, because at first my other thing too is like, all this is doing is cutting away from the fight and the battle scene. But at the end of the day, I think we got just the right amount of fighting and battle where like you don't want to go overboard. It was good. And what I really liked it was, and like this whole show has been kind of from Dunk's perspective. Like everything is kind of like not directly through his eyes, but in a way, like the camera's where he is. And it was kind of nice where like you didn't really see everything else that was going on. It was as if you were almost him and you're kind of just thrown into this and like you kind of get glimpses like he's turning his head every once in a while and seeing things, but you're not having like this like bird's eye like
Yeah.
screenshot view of everything. I liked that. I thought that was it made it more intense. Like you could really feel how out of place he was. Like he was not very good in that battle. He
Yeah,
got
no,
beat around.
it was done well. I agree with you. I also like the fact that it just showed it in a way, and I'm not saying I'm some medieval historian who could speak as to what battles in armor was supposed to be like. But whenever you do watch a documentary or something when they speak about that, about just it's people being instantly exhausted and just a
Yeah.
lot of just scrappy fighting of where it will be just two guys laying on each other, sort of trying to beat the other one to death. The fact that it descended into that really quickly and it's not some sort of graceful knife fight in the mud where they're moving
Yep.
around carrying, with hundreds of pounds on them between their various weapons and stuff. I thought that was good too.
Yeah. Yeah. It was cool. It was good. Yeah. And then I thought the ending was great. And I mean, again, you're not a Game of Thrones watcher, but like it is pretty interesting that this now will have huge implications down the road for the realm and like who rules and things like that because now obviously the prince who probably for all accounts would have been a good king, like he seemed like a pretty smart guy, level-headed, didn't seem arrogant or obnoxious, would have been a good king, and now he can no longer be king, and then who will become king in his stead, I guess, is kind of the downfall of the Targaryens.
Yeah. Yeah, no, interesting. As I said, I enjoyed the series. It's
I'm still like, and I think the other good part too is like, so he gets out of that alive, but there's still a lot of questions for that last episode, which I think is nice. Is that you don't know everything because I still don't fully get how he's going to be received from being the person who survives. So by all accounts, the gods think he is innocent, but yet he's responsible for killing the heir to the Iron Throne and the Hand of the King, and this guy's brother, who is the one who actually killed him, his own brother. Like how that's all gonna shake out. Like, are they gonna be like, "Hey, Doug, it was great to meet you, man. You seem like a pretty good guy," or is it gonna be like, "Get the fuck out of here, and I never want to see you again"?
yeah, I agree with you. It could go that he's sort of held responsible for ultimately what happened, or it could be that it kind of turns on the nephew cousin more and sort of he gets treated as you forced this to happen when it didn't need to. It could go either way.
Yeah,
And I guess
and I don't
the
know if you saw, but so when it happens, did you were you able to pick out when it happened when Baylor gets hit in the head
no.
by his brother? So what actually happens is it's after
Oh,
Arion, after he
yielded.
yields. Yeah, so, like, Makar, his father and the prince's brother was being, like, held back, and then he yields, and as he, like, yields, they kinda, like, let go of him, and as they let go, he kinda, like, turns around to kind of, like, "Get the fuck off me," and, like, hit someone, and I guess, uh, it looks like it's kinda, like, inadvertently doesn't realize it's his brother and kinda, like, hits him in the head with his mace, I think it is. I
Yeah,
forget what it's called.
yeah.
But yeah, so it's kinda like after the whistle, after the final play.
Nice. See if they have a VAR for that.
Yeah. That might be a red card for the next match.
But yeah,
But
no,
yeah,
really
really
good
good
show.
episode. Yeah, this is like peak Game of Thrones. This is so much better than House of Dragon, at least so far.
Which is coming back, right?
Yeah, it is in June.
As I've said previously, I think I'm done, but
What if I enticed you by saying,
it's a
like,
completely different show.
no, yeah, but that like 80% of the story is gonna be packed into this season?
Yeah, that doesn't really entice me at all. I mean, there's a chance I end up watching it just because there may be nothing else on at that time. That there's always that possibility. But realistically, yeah, I think I'm done, as we've
Yeah, the
discussed
second
previously.
season just
Where
really killed, like,
you
it was
you
so
feel the
stupid.
you feel the need to finish stuff. I don't, and
Yeah. Oh, I will, especially Game of Thrones. I'll definitely finish a Game of Thrones show because
yeah.
at the end of the day, it's still good TV.
Is it? Has it been? It
Yeah,
drags so
it
long.
is. It does drag, but I don't think season 3 will drag. That's the difference. Is because now, I mean, it's just so dumb that they tried to literally drag and pull it out. Like, season 1 and 2 should have been 1 season, but instead they try and just make so much money off of these,
Yeah, which is interesting because in this you have this sort of mini series that
and it's
feels like it should
perfect.
be longer. Like
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
you're like, oh, this could actually do with, as we've previously discussed, it could definitely do with hour-long episodes. And then maybe if you told me there were 2 more episodes as well, I'd probably be pretty happy with it.
Yeah.
But
But
better
I'd
to be too
prefer it
short
to
than
be a
too
little
long.
short.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
exactly, yeah, yeah. Always leave them wanting more.
Yeah, well, House of Dragons has left me wanting nothing. So that's I don't think that's what they were hoping for.
I don't need this guy in this abandoned castle for 7 episodes,
No.
just wandering a castle.
Just staring at walls in one from moving from one dark room to another,
Yeah.
occasionally seeing ghosts or whatever it is he's seeing. I'm okay with it. I'm
Asking
alright.
about remodeling the kitchen.
Yeah.
Did you watch The Pit last night?
No, I can't.
Yeah.
Yeah, the pit will get viewed this weekend.
The Pit, I mean, this should be a hats off to The Pit. It is now the show I go to as soon as it drops, I watch it. It just so happens to line up that I have pickleball from 7 to 9, so I come home at, like, 9:30, and it's already just been aired, and I can't go to sleep, so I usually watch it, but it's
Just
perfect.
the adrenaline rush of pickleball keeps you awake for a few
Oh,
hours.
yep, exactly, and they had another pickleball reference in it this episode. It's
Oh,
fucking killing me.
oh boy. How's the pickleball going?
Pretty good. We are, as a team, as a doubles team, we are vastly improving. So I think yesterday we only lost 1 match, and we lost 11 to 10, and
I
we
got
won,
an
like, 4.
I got an Instagram ad today for a pickleball tournament in Lyon, which like you can enter a team. It's amateur pickleball teams from around the world can enter, and it's part of some like amateur pickleball series where basically you need to win one of the qualifying events, and then you go to this like world championship in Italy. I think in the summer or the spring, and the
What do you
Lyon
mean
event.
teams? It's like a doubles team?
No, I think you probably need like a singles player, like a men's singles player, a women's singles player, um, a men's doubles, women's doubles, and mixed doubles. It's
When
probably
is it?
something like that. It's middle of March, I think.
Oh, it's too soon.
It's as I said, it's part of a series, so there's multiple
We
events
could be the
across
big
Europe.
chill podcast team.
Let me see if I can find it.
Just a bunch of below average pickleball players.
But this is the thing that I don't know is like when it is specifically saying amateurs, like it stresses that a lot that they
That doesn't mean anything
but yeah, how 'cause also
because
what's
I
how
played
many
in an amateur tournament and there was still like 5.0 players in there. I think amateur means you're not on like the professional pickleball tour or whatever, association or whatever it is, the PPA or whatever.
I'll look for it and find it for next episode, but
Yeah.
did I send it to
But no, we're
myself?
getting better. And then the singles is I'm getting much better. So we usually we do doubles like you know like you have like the 2 hours whatever you sign up and then at the end we usually stay behind and my partner and I will play a singles match against each other. And that is a good workout. Like singles pickleball is pretty intense once you actually get good enough that you can have some like rallies going. It's fun. But the doubles is better. It's just there's still certain hit shots that I'm just not good at. My serve though, I might have one of the best serves in like the thing
In
now
the world?
because I'm lefty. Not in the world, like in the grouping when we go. Because I'm lefty and I can put a lot of top spin on it now, so I can curve it and people can't handle it because they're not used to seeing a lefty serve and like the way it curves. I get people all the time. Half our points are aces.
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 Aces, not unreturned serves. They're not touching the ball.
Oh no, they're returning it, but not into
Like
play.
like an error off the return. Unreturned serve.
Y- You could call it an error. Some people just call it impossible.
Okay, unreturned serve though. Because straight
Yeah.
ace, getting full on ace in
No,
pickleball feels tremendously embarrassing.
I don't. I maybe I've done that. I've gotten someone like once on that.
Like, yeah, you'd have to I can't I would hang up my racket, I think, if someone aced me in
Yeah,
pickleball.
yeah. And we have a good combo as a doubles pairing because I can put a lot of topspin on it, and then she can actually has a nice slice serve. So between both of us, it's a good like combination where hers just like hit and drop, like they don't bounce at all, which is really nice. And then mine kind of curve, which is good.
Nice.
We're getting better.
Well, I look forward to
We're supposed to have a tournament today, but we had to cancel because we thought it would be a weekend tournament, but then they sent us a schedule and it was Friday morning was the doubles. And we had an email on like Tuesday, be like, sorry, we have jobs and we can't like
well,
go to a tournament all of Friday.
that usually doesn't stop you.
It's more her.
Yeah,
I was in.
I was gonna say, it doesn't feel like that usually holds you back from pickleball
In
or
fact, I
hockey
asked her
or
if it was okay if I tried to find another partner.
I guess finals, as we've kind of shifted slightly back to sports, will you be tuning in to watch Constitution Hill running on the flat for the first time today? Right,
Really? I
race
did not even know
yeah,
that.
that's at Southall this evening. It's second
How far?
favorite. It is currently
Is Ascot Gold Cup in the plan here? Is that the
I
dream?
mean, I think that's the dream if everything but, you're talking about a nine-year-old debuting on the flat. The chances that that goes so well that they're putting it into, like, big group 1 seems unlikely, but
Oh, is 1 mile 4? You said Southwell?
yeah, 1 mile
It's
4.
the
Yeah,
longest
the
one.
the 8:30. Joint favorite at the moment with Square Necker.
I don't see it. Oh, I see it.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to see at least. It's a reason I probably otherwise I would not have been tuning
O'Sheen
in to the
Murphy on board.
yeah. I would not have been tuning
O'Sheen,
into the
what a name.
Friday night yeah, great name, to the Friday night racing had it not been for this, so that's
All right, I'm in.
took a lot of convincing.
I'm all in. I'm convinced.
It's one of those you kinda have to have a dabble on because if it does go
Yeah.
well, you'll feel silly that you missed out on, like, 15 to 8 on a horse that's as good as it is, but it is a nine-year-old making its
Racing on flat for the first time.
I think 9.
It's a
That's
handicap, though.
Constitution Hill, it's 9? Or is it 7? Constitution Hill. I think it's 9.
All right. Well, with that,
9.
I guess we'll call it a day.
Sounds good.
Talk to you later.
See ya.
Cheerio.